meeting June 24th, 2019. I hereby declare this meeting of the Howell Township Zoning Board to be open. Adequate notice having been given pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act in the following manner. First, on January 15, 2019, a copy of said notice was mailed to the Star-Ledger and the Tri-Town News. Second, on January 15, 2019, a copy of said notice was hand-delivered to the clerk of the Township of Howell. Third, on January 15, 2019, said notice was posted in the office of the Zoning Board and on the bulletin board in the Howell Township Municipal Building, 4567 Route 9, Howell Township, New Jersey. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code and your safety, please be advised that this facility is designed with 2 emergency exits, which are on your right at the front and rear of the meeting room. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Township TV 77. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues of what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and the decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tropley, we have a new member and then also some rearranging of board members.
Yes.
You want to step forward?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have 3 oaths of office this evening. We'll start with Mr. Saya, if you would please join me. We'll administer the oath of office to you. Mr. Saya, I'll hold it like that. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Paul Saya,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New
and the
Jersey,
Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of people,
under the authority of people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially
that I will impartially
and justly
perform
all the duties of the Township of Howell Zoning Board
perform all the duties of the office of the Howell Township Zoning Board
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Sayre.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, for the record, Mr. Sayre is sworn. He will be serving the unexpired term of Mr. San Clemente.
Okay.
And I have 2 more, and then we will call
That's
for
fine.
nominations.
Okay.
The next 2 is James Moretti Jr., who is moving up as alternate 1, and we have a new member, Glenn Cantor. Glenn, if you would just join me here. Gentlemen, if you would just flank me, what I'll do is I will very conveniently hold this in the middle so everyone can see. And if you would raise your right hands and repeat after me. I, state your name.
I, Glenn Cantor,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially
that I will impartially
and justly perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of alternate member of the Howell Township Zoning Board,
of the alternate member of the Howell Township Zoning Board
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Mr. Moretti, congratulations, you're alternate number 1. Mr. Cantor, alternate number 2. And Mr. Moretti, you're moving into the unexpired term of Mr. Saya.
Okay.
Okay, as
Got it.
alternate 1. And you have your term, which is a new term, or
No, it's the unexpired term of Mr. Moretti.
Unexpired of Mr. Moretti.
Good. We got it all
I
down.
wrote it down. Can't even read my own writing. Thank you.
I'll
Thank
sit.
You will just,
Welcome to the elevator.
and make sure you sign. yours there.
I'll send out a new roster to everybody.
Thank you.
So you know what their positions are.
Thank you, and if you would just hand that to our clerk, please.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. As you folks just take your place back on the dais, and Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it over to you. Obviously, we
Okay.
have a vacancy with
Yes.
the vice chair,
I-
and at this point in time, I'm going to ask you to call for nominations for vice chair.
Okay. Do I have a nomination for vice chair?
Yes, I'd like to make a nomination for Paul Saya for vice chair.
Nomination, do I have a second?
I second that.
Seconded by Mr. Moretti. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mertens.
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mr. Saya.
Yes.
Mr. Moretti.
Yes.
Mr. Cantor.
Yes.
And Chairman Nansen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, sir.
You get to... You can't anchor the end anymore.
You want me to come over?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should have taken it before that.
Okay,
Roll call.
can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Massa has been excused. Mr. Mertens.
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Here.
Mr. Orozco has been excused. Mr. Saya.
Here.
Mr. Moretti.
Here.
Mr. Cantor.
Here.
And Chairman Nansen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Tropoli, you mind swearing in the professionals, please?
Testimony you'll give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. The record should reflect that Mr. Cumberland, Mr. Dean, and Howell will-
Thank you. Approval of minutes,
There's no minutes this evening.
vouchers,
There's no vouchers.
correspondence.
Yes, I do have some correspondence. I have a letter from Alan Kaplan. He is the attorney for Robert and Dolores Kowalski. He sent a letter saying, "This shall confirm that the hearing in the above matter, which was scheduled for June 24th, he's asking it to be carried to August 26th, 2019. He requests that the board allow this to be carried without the necessity of renoticing, and he has also granted the board an extension of time through September 26th, 2019. And prior to that letter, I did get an email from him and a letter that one of the Kowalskis, Mrs. Kowalski, was recently hospitalized and she is now in a wheelchair, so she was physically unable to come tonight, which is why he asked for the extension."
Okay. Mr. Tropoli, you,
This is not my case, as you know, but
I
I would
know.
have no objection to the request
And I did-
on behalf of Mr. Cacciaro, and I'm sure you
I
have
did
checked with
check
him
with
as
the
well.
conflict attorney, and he is available. He said that's not a problem, August 26th.
okay, good. Anyone here for the case number BA 1802, Robert and Dolores Kowalski? Okay, this case is going to be carried to August 26, 2019, with no further notice at 7:30 PM. And they did grant us an extension of time through
September 26th,
September
2019.
26, 2019. Okay.
I also have an email from Catherine Elston. She is the attorney for Daniel Netto. He was before the board at our last meeting.
Right.
And she said her clients were here. They were given a week adjournment to determine whether they wish to proceed with the variance application. She has spoken to both Ms. Beam and Mr. Cunliffe about it. She did speak to her client as well. Unfortunately, she's been tied up in jury duty for most of the week and hasn't gotten an answer. So I don't know what you want to do with it, or I don't know if the
They're
professionals can say what's going on, but
technically, and correct me if I'm wrong, they need a variance, so that's a new application, correct? So there's really not much we can do
no, you
to
don't have
it.
to carry it or anything.
Like when she called me, she was just kind of asking for the type of information that we'd be looking for. So it wasn't really any technical discussion, it was more, what are you gonna be looking for? And then, I guess you spoke to Charlie as well, about the same issue, so I would expect that they're gonna submit an application at some point.
Okay.
And that's all the correspondence I have.
Okay, resolution, BA 1806, L&L Paving Company, Inc. Resolution granting use variance, bulk variance waivers, preliminary and final site plan approval for ambulance management plan approval. Eligible voters, Hughes, O'Donnell, Roscoe, San Clemente, and Nansen. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Hughes,
I'll second that motion.
seconded by Mr. O'Donnell. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, you may. Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Chairman Nansen.
Yes.
Resolutions memorialized.
Thank you. Okay, resolution BA 1610, SMC Properties LLC, resolution granting one-year extension of time. Eligible voters, Hughes, Mertens, O'Donnell, DeRosco, San Clemente, Saya, Nansen. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Merton,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Saya. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mertens.
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mr. Saya.
Yes.
And Chairman Nansen.
Yes.
Motion carries, resolutions memorialized. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, before we move into cases before the board, I'm going to switch the cases around because we got two cases I think we can move pretty quickly. And, number one is we're going to move case number BA 1906, Restoration Family Worship. Second, we're going to do the generator first, the application for the minor site plan approval, standby generator. We're going to do that one first, then the restoration second, and then we'll get to Mr. Blewett's case. Okay, case number BA 0505A2, HHC 3 LLC, minor site plan, application HHC 3 LLC as applicant owner seeking a minor site plan approval to install a standby generator with associated concrete pad, 6-foot fence within a required 50-foot residential buffer along the northerly lot line of premises known as Block 49, Lot 2, 303 Squonkam Road. Expiration date, October 2nd, 2019. Mr. Cohen, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board professionals. I'm Todd Cohen, the applicant's attorney. The applicant is HHC the Third LLC. Just very briefly, a history of this property. In 2005, this board originally approved the use variance for a residential use with a shop-type use in the back. Then in 2016, this particular applicant that's before you this evening received an approval to convert the existing residential structure to a commercial office use with various site improvements. That's the site plan that you see before you tonight is already approved. Actually, my client moved into the property approximately about 3 months ago. The application tonight is simply for the installation of a generator within the 50-foot perimeter buffer. I have with me this evening Mr. Richard DeFalco, professional engineer and planner, who will testify with regard to the variance requested and answer any questions the board may have. We would ask to have Mr. DeFalco sworn at this time.
Please stand. Swear the testimony you give this evening to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
State your name for the record.
Richard DeFalco, D-I-F-O-L-C-O.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Cohen, we have a police card here.
Yes. Mr. DeFalco, would you please put your professional and educational qualifications on the board, record for the board?
Yes, thank you. I'm a licensed engineer and planner, graduate of Rutgers University. I'm the owner of JKR Engineering and Planning. I've been before this board for over 30 years now, but our firm specializes in site plans and subdivisions in Monmouth and Ocean County, and we prepared the original site plan that converted the home to the office, which has been constructed.
Okay.
Accept his qualifications, Mr. Chairman.
Accept your qualification.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rich, could you just briefly describe the variance application before the board tonight and address the variance that's requested?
Yes, there are actually two variances. The first is what the chairman read into the record, where the proposed generator is located within the 50-foot perimeter buffer. If you look at the site plan, the existing office is also located within the 50-foot perimeter buffer. There's about 40 feet from the north side of the building to the side lot line. That side of the building is where the power comes into the building. So no matter where we put the generator near that power, we're going to be within the 50-foot buffer because the building is within the 50-foot buffer. We have about 40 feet to play with. We placed the generator where it is because there's an outside meter at this location. The meter is not on the building, but it's mounted on a post behind the parking lot. And there's 2 meters, one for the front building and one for the back shop. And as the power leaves those 2 meters, one goes to the building and one goes to the shop in different directions. But where they are coexistent, we'd like to place the generator so we can cut the wire, bring it up, and service both front and back buildings without putting in new wires. And the gas main is also within about 10 feet of that location, so it's ideal to locate it where we propose to locate it. We're aware of the ordinance as well, which requires, Section 188.19 requires that the generator be within 5 feet of the principal structure. But based on what I just testified to, we see the need to place it further away to make the connection
So you're going to be 15 feet?
15
From the
feet
principal
from the
structure.
structure, yes. And we
Okay.
propose a fence on 3 sides, the 3 visible sides, the front, the back, and the north side with a 6-foot-high solid fence, so you won't be able to see the generator from the street or the neighbor's lot.
Is there any way to put some tree screening right behind it, or shrubbery? You know, 5, 10 feet shrubs right in behind it?
Well, we could do that, but if you visit
I
this
know there's a row of pine trees and stuff.
heavy row of pine trees to the north.
I know that, but I mean, just right up close to it, because the sound's going to hit that before it gets to those pines. By the time it gets to the pines, it'll be gone, dissipated pretty much.
I agree, especially along the front. Along the frontage that faces the parking lot, you know, I definitely think there should be some landscaping around there.
You know, you're
All right,
not
so,
talking
yeah,
very many trees,
We
but, you know,
can supply a
definitely,
plan to Sherry
yes, please.
and review that with her, but yes, we will put in a evergreen planting around the north and the street side. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Those 2 sides? Yes.
yes. Jen?
That's all I have.
Charlie?
Will there be any impact to grading or anything like that, or you'll maintain what was previously proposed?
It'll be set at grade.
Okay.
I think the slab is a few inches above grade, so that water will not go onto the slab, but around the slab.
Okay, and then all other proposed landscaping from the prior application, that's all been installed?
Yes, it has been.
Okay. And then I just remind the applicant that they gotta comply with all previous conditions of the prior resolution. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Mr. DeFalco, one quick question is, fuel capacity. Is this a natural gas, or
Natural gas.
it is natural gas?
And the gas service is on the site.
Okay. So there's no diesel fuel?
No, sir.
No backup diesel?
No, all natural gas,
Okay.
100%.
What will be the testing hours, or what will be the testing, maintenance hours and stuff for the
We will
generator?
abide by the ordinance, which recommends the times. It's contained within Ms. Beam's letter, I
Okay.
believe.
It's usually done Tuesday, Wednesday morning.
Yeah, but it's the timing.
Yeah, between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it's just 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and it's gotta only occur on weekdays, so no weekends.
Weekdays only, 7
Yeah.
to 8.
And they
yes.
normally run once a week for like 20 minutes just to...
Okay.
The applicant agrees to comply with the time.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from the board? Professionals?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
So, you got a run time, you're running every week at 20 minutes, right? Every week, summer, winter, the whole thing. There is going to be noise generator from a 48 kW generator. So why wouldn't we put it in a a noise dampening enclosure rather than having to worry about natural, setting
Well,
to
the model
dampen the
they-
noise.
Yeah, I understand, thank you. The model they chose meets the township's noise ordinance. It does not exceed the decibel level that is specified by the town's ordinance. So they chose the model that would meet that code. And that's why they did that. Plus, they installed a fence between the generator and the adjacent property. So in addition to the number not exceeding the ordinance, we've installed a fence, and now we're going to install some more landscaping even in addition to the fence.
I'm just concerned, as the chairman had mentioned, the fence is going to be an echo chamber for a generator, and this is, okay. I know. I'd like to see them in enclosures.
No way. I think that to be open air vented too.
Anything further from, okay, can I have a motion to open the public?
Make a motion to open to the public?
Motion by Mr. Peretti,
Second.
second by Mr. O'Donnell. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This time, anyone in the public wishing to come forward, question or comment on the application, please come forward.
Wendell, can you just put your mic on, because we can't hear you?
I'm sorry.
Sit down.
Mr. Cohen?
Just say that you're going to build it.
Good evening, my name is Donald Kunz.
Sir, before
Need to
you
be
go
swore.
ahead, you need to be sworn.
I don't know why.
You raise your right hand. That's when you're giving me a good function.
I do.
Yes, so your name again, sir, and your address.
My name is Donald Kunz. My address is 39 Golden Springs Drive, Lakewood, New Jersey. I'm in the state of New Jersey licensed electrical contractor. 14 years ago, I installed the feeders that served the existing buildings and workshop area. Helped plan the location of the generator to make the most sense. I was contracted by the new owner to complete the wiring to change from a residential to office buildings. I'm quite familiar with the owner. I've been working with him for more than 3 years now. I know the type of individual he is. I know the type of perfection he wants when you require shrubs and bushes already behind a fenced-in generator, which meets code requirements. It's a little overboard. This year alone, he's replaced 37 trees that initially was required by the board because they weren't up to quality. He doesn't stand for anything less. He's had him replace it. He's manicured his yard. When we installed the sewer line for the township to put him on a city sewer, all the frontage was manicured with sod and soil and stuff. He doesn't do a halfway job. This gentleman, the owner of this company, owns several stores. He's worked with generators in his stores. He's in compliance with the hours that you're requesting. He knows well the noise things. As far as the ricochet noise, where your ordinance would have put this 5 feet away from the building, which is almost 3.5 stories high, that would have definitely caused problems in the neighborhood as far as ricochet noise. And as a contractor, I've worked with diesel generators and equipment. Unlike where your generator here is 40 feet off of your building unenclosed, there's no violation of any ordinances. Here, it's a kind of unique situation.
Excuse me,
friendly.
I hate to interrupt you. You're saying 40 feet off of the building?
Excuse me?
15 feet off the building.
Your generator out here on the other side of
Oh.
your driveway is not,
He's talking about the one here at Town Hall.
I'm doing a comparison. It's, all right, to wrap it up, I don't think the tree's a necessity, and I have no concern that this is going to be an asset to the neighborhood that we're well part of, and we have been. My brother-in-law owned the place before him. We know the neighbors well. We work good, and it's a nice situation.
I understand that, but the tree, that's going to be a requirement from the board. And there's a reason behind that.
You have to make your decision.
Exactly.
Just want that as a record.
But I just want to let you know why our decision is that this was a variance. You know, they abandoned the residential use of the property and it's strictly commercial use. Okay, you have a residence next door to this. Okay, if this business moves, if they sell, that variance is going to stay with that property.
I understand that.
So they could upgrade the generator to whatever they want to do, and if we don't have things in place, that's why we do the things that we do there.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Seeing no hands, could I have a motion to close public?
Make a motion to close to the
Motion by
public.
Mr. Moretti. Seconded by Mr. Hughes. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Professionals, any further comments? Board, any further comments?
No.
Mr. Cohen?
Mr. Chairman, we rely on the testimony provided and request the variance relief with the condition that the landscape will be provided as requested.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I would like to make a motion to approve this based upon all the testimony here and the addition of the new plantings. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Mr. Hughes.
I'll second that too, because I believe the landscaping is appropriate for this type situation. So with that stipulation, I say yes to.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Mertens. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mertens.
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mr. Saya.
Yes.
Mr. Moretti.
Yes.
Mr. Cantor.
Yes.
Chairman Nansen.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Todd.
Yes, this whole trial is worse.
Okay. Okay, next case is case number BA 1906, Restoration Family Worship Center, minor site plan with use variance and bulk variance. Application Restoration Family Worship Center is applicant owner seeking a minor site plan with bulk variances, approval to construct two 8x8 additions to the south side of the house of worship to be used as bathrooms, use variance approval for deviation from the house of worship conditional use standards as a minimum lot area of 5 acres is required, whereas 1.48 acres is proposed on premises known as Block 77, Lot 6, 2 Kent Road. Expiration date, August 16, 2019. Mr. Alfieri.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Dante Alfieri on behalf of the applicant. Tonight, as the chairman stated, we're here seeking the approval of the board for a minor site plan with use variance and bulk variances. Tonight, I have Mr. Brian Murphy, who's going to provide both engineering and planning testimony. If you'd like to have him sworn in. Are you picking me up?
Just pull it closer to you. That's
Get me now? That's all.
Hello.
You good?
Swear the testimony you give is nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. State your name for the
This
record,
is
please.
Brian Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y.
church room.
licensed professional engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey. I've been before this board many times.
Very good.
Do you accept
Mr.
his
Chair?
qualifications?
Yes,
Credentials?
Yes.
We're familiar with Mr. Murphy, of course, but
yes, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
We accept your credentials, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, can you orient the board to the site and then discuss the proposal and the variances being sought?
Sure. The property is on the northwest corner of Church Road and Kent Road. It's been there for at least 100 years, 140 years possibly. All we're looking to do is add 2 rooms onto the front of the building. They're hatched in the plan that's up on the board. They're going to be bathrooms. Currently, the bathroom is in the detached building that's further in on the property, the annex, as we refer to it. So right now, the elderly, the young, the handicapped have to basically come out of the building and go over to that building if they need to use the facilities. So we're proposing to add these 2 bathrooms onto this building. They're 8 by 8. Really not much of an addition onto the building at all. To the north of the property, we have a single-family home. To the west of the property, we have a cemetery. And to the south of the property is the Coptic church. And to the right or east of the property is the Goddard School. And Walmart's a little further down, but that's essentially our neighbors. Again, it's a minor site plan for the addition. It is a existing facility, obviously. The church is used on Sundays from 8 till noon for services. The annex is used on Thursdays, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays for religious education from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Let's see what else we have here. We have public sanitary sewer. Other than that, we're on well for water service. We have a couple of variances associated with this application. The rear setback to the existing shed is at 0 feet. The height is 8 feet, so 8 foot is the required setback. That's kind of in the northwest corner, up against the woods. There you go, right at that turn in the property is where the shed is. So it's basically angled. It's essentially up against the property line, up against the woods. And we have a front setback where 75 feet is required to churches. This one is at 14.1. Obviously, it's been at 14.1 for a very long time. And our addition is not going to increase that setback. It's going to stay at the 14.1 that it is now. It's just going to basically fill in the 2 holes and make this a rectangle, essentially. Both these variances can be granted without any detriment to the master plan or zoning ordinance. And I see no detriment in granting either one of these variances. They're minor, to say the least. The other variance is the D2 variance for the expansion of the non-conforming use. Even though this certainly predated the ordinance, it is a non-conforming use, as 5 acres is required for a house of worship. And we have 1.48. 75-foot front setback is required. We're at 14.1. And off-street parking has to be at 75 feet, and obviously we're much less than that existing. With the D2 variance, basically it's a conditional use. So the use itself is not the issue. The courts have followed through with that. So the use is fine. It's the intensity of this use on the property. Obviously, it's functioned for 100 some odd years. So I don't see that the intensity as being an issue. And also, the addition that we're proposing isn't intensifying the use. It's still the same amount of people that are going to be in this building. It's just that the facilities are going to be in the building rather than having to go out into the weather and traverse over to the other building. So the intensity of the site isn't changing. It's still the same intensity. It's just that obviously it's a small addition to the building. And again, I see no reason why we couldn't provide this, and I see no detriment to the surrounding area or master plan. And also, looking at the site, again, 5 acres, that's taken into account a large church, a lot of parking, drainage. That's not the case here. And also, we're not going to need a lot of parking because we only have so much room inside the church, so we can only fit so many people. So that's how it's functioned to date. I don't know if you want me to go through each waiver or just reference the waivers listed in the T&M letter.
Yes. Let's just go through the letters real quick. Charlie?
So, the big thing I got a question about is architectural makeup. It's going to match kind of what's already out there with the building?
Yes, it's going to be one story. It'll come out the front of the building, similar to how the foyer is laid out. And we're going to try to match the same color of the same stucco look that's there now, and try to match that. I don't think we'll be able to match the stone, so I think we're going to go that route and try to go with the stucco.
Okay. Have you looked at any of the NJGO web mapping for wetlands on the site?
Yeah, it's indicated basically on the far end of the site. I'm no expert, but obviously we'll need to verify that in the future if we want to do anything else. But we're so far away from it, we're certainly not impacting it.
Okay, I wouldn't take exception to that. I looked at it myself, and it looks to be greater than 150 feet, so I wouldn't take any exception to that. Curbing, it's an existing site. They're not proposing any changes to the parking lot or aisles or driveway, so I wouldn't take an exception to the board granting that. Parking, I just want you to confirm again, there's no existing bathrooms in the church right now. Everything's in the annex?
It's all in the annex.
Okay, so there's going to be no net increase in seating or anything inside?
No.
Okay. As far as any circulation for the parking lot, I just, would defer that to the fire bureau. Obviously, we want to make sure that no one's parking in the aisles, so if a fire truck does have to get through there, they can do that. Any changes to signage or anything like that with the building? Any building mounted signage or anything?
No changes.
Okay, and then runoff from the roofs,
It's minimal, and honestly, I don't have much room to deal with because I have the cemetery on the two sides and the parking lot on the other. The way I'm kind of looking at it is, the runoff is going to run into the parking lot, it's going to run into the cemetery.
So, on larger application, we would require them to be putting dry wells or rain gardens. On something small like this, I would just say directed away from adjacent properties, directed towards the right-of-way, so that way you're not impacting any of the adjoiners.
Fair enough.
And then the last thing, I think Monmouth County Board of Health said they had a record of an old well on the site. Has it been abandoned, or is it now used for irrigation purposes?
No, it's still in use. It's just to the west side of the annex, the southwest side. It shows up on the plan.
And that's not used for potable water, that's just used
Irrigation.
for irrigation? Okay. All right, I just remind the applicant they're required to get all outside agency approvals, Monmouth County Board of Health being one of them. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Jen?
I take no exception to the application. It's a D2 variance. It's not the same burden as we would see with a typical use variance that we, if the use was not permitted. Basically, they have to show that the site can accommodate the use, and I understand that the site is significantly smaller in area than we would typically see for a church, but I don't disagree with the testimony. Number one, they're adding facilities. They're not adding additional congregation area or, areas for those parishioners to congregate in after the services. It's really just convenience of the facilities in the building, which are two modest additions in the front. So I do think the site can accommodate it, even though it's, 1.5 acres when 5 acres is required. But I don't take any exception to the testimony that Mr. Murphy has provided, and I think the site can accommodate this increase, and I think it'd be a benefit to the facility.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No, I'm well aware, I live right down the road from this on Sanders Drive. And it's definitely needed, because if you look at that parking lot, they have to converse across that parking lot to go to the facilities, and they have a nice congregation there, and I think we should definitely, I have no problem with this at all, because if there's nothing, as far as our experts are seeing a problem with it, I don't see a problem with it at all, especially with these two facilities being housed inside their church. It's perfect. It's perfect. They've been here I've been here for 35 years. They've been here for 100 years, but they've always been there, as far as I can remember. So,
I remember bringing that up, conversing to the other building, growing up in church. We had an outhouse. It wasn't even, Even our house, we didn't have running water till I was 4 years old.
I'm going to say
so-
you're dating yourself, Mr. Chairman.
I know. It's a pretty long time ago, and I remember those days. And this, if it's been there 150 years, that's how it's got to feel going out of the building to go to the restrooms. So it's about time to move to modern times,
Yes.
so, anyway. But any other questions of the board or
Are
comment?
the new facilities handicap accessible?
Yes, they'll have to be.
ADA?
Yep.
Okay. Seeing no, can I have a motion to open to public?
Make a motion to open to the public?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Moretti, seconded by Mr. Saya. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Anyone in the audience wish to come forward, ask a question, or make a comment, please come forward. Seeing none, can I have a motion to close?
Make a motion to close?
Motion
I'll
by
second
Mr.
it.
Moretti, seconded by Mr. Saya. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Professionals, any further?
No, sir.
Board members, any other questions or comments?
No, sir.
Mr. Alfieri?
We have nothing further.
Have nothing further, okay. That was quick. What's the pleasure of the board?
Based on my prior statement, I approve, I think we should approve this,
You making a motion?
I'm making a motion.
Okay.
No, you should approve this based upon the need and the necessity to have this housed inside their main building.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Moretti. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr.
Seconded
Chairman.
by Mr. Saya. We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Mertens,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Saya,
Yes.
Mr. Moretti,
Yes.
Mr. Cantor,
Yes.
Chairman Nansen.
Well, it's about time. I'm all in favor of bringing something to the 20th century. Trust me, those bring back bad memories from those days, so welcome to the 20th century. Congratulations, my vote is yes.
Thank you, Chairman.
Motion
Members of the
carries.
board. Have a great evening.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Good night.
Let's take a 10-minute break. We'll get everything situated. Okay? Zoning board's going to take a 10-minute break.
Zoning board will now reconvene.
Okay, where we left off. Case number BA 1817, John Blewett, Inc. Use variance, bulk variance, minor subdivision. Application of John Blewett, Inc. as applicant, owner seeking use variance, bulk variance, and minor subdivision approval to subdivide 2 existing lots to create 3 new lots with no new construction as follows. Proposed Lot 1004 to be occupied solely by a 2-story frame dwelling use. Proposed Lot 9.01 will have 2 principal uses on 1 lot, residential and commercial. And proposed 10.3 contains the split zone ARE2, ARE6 on premises known as Block 46, Lot 9, 10.02, 246 Herbertsville Road. This application was originally scheduled to be heard on May 20th, 2019, when it was carried to June 10th, 2019, with no further notice. To June 10th, 2019, the application was rescheduled to June 24th, 2019. Expiration date, June 24th, 2019. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board and professionals. Chris Olzak on behalf of John Blewett, Inc. To my right is John Blewett Jr., president of John Blewett, Inc.
Mr.,
We
can you
couldn't
use the
hear
mic?
you.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I have to get you on the record.
I
Thank you.
apologize.
It should be on. Here.
There it is.
Good evening, Chris Olzak on behalf of the
Chris
applicant.
Holzak?
Olzak, yes. On behalf of the applicant, John Blewett, Inc., I have John Blewett Jr., president of John Blewett, Inc. To my right, and also Kevin Murphy and Sid Hussein from D.W. Smith.
Okay, you want to bring all your witnesses, and we'll swear everybody in?
Want to start with Mr. Blewett?
Yeah, well, we'll swear everybody at the same time.
Gentlemen, raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you'll give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Right. Mr. Blewett, starting with you, your name on the record, please.
John Blewett, B-L-E-W-E-T-T.
Very good.
Sid Hussein, H-U-S-A-I-N.
Thank you.
Kevin Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y.
Very good. All sworn, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. What can we do?
Well, thank you. We're here for an application for a minor subdivision with use variance, bulk variance, to create a new lot for the existing residence that would be on the new lot 10.04. If you'd like me to request that the professionals give their background and qualify themselves.
My name is Kevin Murphy. I work for D.W. Smith. I'm a professional engineer and professional land surveyor. I helped prepare the minor subdivision plan and oversaw the calculations of the area information, lot dimensions, et cetera, that's been placed on the plan.
Can we get your qualifications, please?
Sure. I've been licensed as a land surveyor since 1988, I believe, and licensed as a professional engineer since about 1991.
And you're here testifying as an
I'm here
engineer?
to support the application as needed with respect to the land surveying components.
Just a land survey and
Yes, sir.
not engineering?
Correct.
Okay, and your education background?
I attended Rutgers College of Engineering.
Okay.
Got my Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from that institution.
Okay, we accept your credentials, sir.
why they won't hold it up to theirs.
Okay? Mr.
Mr. Murphy, you could sit here in case you're needed to answer anything, and that is a microphone.
Mr. Hussein, you could also come up to this table if you want.
And if Mr. Hussein may put his educational on
Yeah.
professional testimony.
We're familiar with him, but each case is on its own merits, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Sid Hussein with D.W. Smith Associates. I have a bachelor's degree from University of Florida and a master's degree in civil engineering from University of Houston, Texas. I have been a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey since 1983 and a planner since 1984.
Okay.
I have been licensed in many states, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, as well as New Jersey.
Yes, sir. And you will be testifying in what capacity?
As an engineer and a planner, sir.
Engineer and planning.
Yes, sir.
What's your licensed planner?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We accept your credentials, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Hawes.
Thank you. Well, there's a variety of testimony we'd like to present with regard to the application. And wherever the board would like to start, we'd be happy to address.
What is reasons to subdivide?
Well, there's not going to be any new construction. The residence is existing and has existed since 1953. It's served as residence for family members of the business. That's primarily what the intent is, to keep it as a residence for family members.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I
Jen?
could, so why don't you start with, what's the purpose of the subdivision? Because it looks to me like lot lines on a piece of paper, but the site is still going to function as one overall site, with access on lot 1003, but that's also serving lot 901, and so I'm not really understanding the purpose of this if there's no improvements proposed.
We're also creating a flag lot, too.
No?
How do you have access to the back portion?
They're part of the big lots. So so 901 goes to the rear lot line, and so does 1003. And then the issue that I would have, which I did speak to Mr. Hussein about during the break, is that 1004 is like a little more than a half an acre. But there's no flag lot. All three lots have access to Herbertsville Road.
This one right now, or this?
Oh, okay.
That
I'm
dash
looking at
line in the
different
back is the
lines.
zone line.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, is
Yeah.
zone line.
So I guess number one, understanding like the purpose of the subdivision would be a great way to start.
Okay, my father started the business, and that was our original family house as he was starting the junkyard up. And that section of property he would like to give to my youngest daughter. And
The house portion.
Yes.
Okay,
Just that, and then separate that from the yard, and that would be hers forever.
got it.
It's not something that's going to be sold or something else done with. It's going to stay the existing building, no changes, no anything.
So why break the yard up into 2 lots? I mean, this subdivision is 3 lots.
The other part. The other part is just one half of the yard where you see the line going down there and the new line. The new line takes and separates, there's 3 scales there. So 2 scales are 1 in and 1 out for the scrap. The other scale is for the concrete section. So on one side, the left side, as looking at the plans, the left side is concrete, topsoil, wood chips, that type of stuff, and then the other half is all scrap metal, that type of stuff. So you can see how the existing line is crooked?
Yep.
Okay, that just straightens the line out, and in the future, maybe 20 years from now or 30 years, no matter what the rest of the family wants to do, if one half wants to lease out a section of property, it can be leased, and there's a line down it, and it says this is where you get to, and so on and so on.
So, Mr. Chairman, kind of on that point, the proposed lot 9.01, its only point of access for the commercial portion is from lot 10.03. So I think they need some type of access agreement between the 2 properties there, so that could be accessed, the commercial portion of it could be accessed.
And that wouldn't be any problem at all.
Okay.
The only other thing I would request is because these lots are significantly oversized for the zone, and the one residential lot that we're talking about, the new lot 1004, is like .653 acres. I would like to see that to be at least 2 acres. They have more than enough area to give that lot. I understand that it may extend beyond the zone boundary into the ARE6 zone, but I would submit if this lot were to be created as a 2-acre lot, even if it does extend a little bit into the ARE6, I think that's more in keeping with the intent of the zone than a lot that's like a half acre or a little bit more than a half acre in a 2-acre zone. And there's more than enough area on the lot to make that happen.
And there's no problem with that.
Okay.
It was just, my father walked, he said, this is where I want to do, and
Okay.
we had no idea that it needed to be 2. Otherwise, he would have walked a little further.
So Sid, I'm assuming that, I mean, obviously we don't have it in front of us, but I'm assuming that you're going to stay to the west of the wall and just extend to
Yeah.
the rear, and that's how
500
you would get the 2 acres?
500 feet from the existing
Lot line?
lot line is what makes up 2 acres.
So you're basically just going to extend that along the wall
Right.
like the wall would become the property line pretty much?
Right.
Okay, so I think that that's a great way to at least try to keep the residential lot. I mean, I get the rear is in the 6-acre zone, but the vast majority of the lot will be within the 2-acre zone.
Right.
So while it technically still needs relief for area, I think it's far more in keeping with the intent of the zone plan than a lot that's .6
Not
acres.
only that, if she wants to expand the house
Correct.
at any time, it makes it a lot easier to do that.
It does, because she won't have to come for a lot variance.
Exactly.
The
Yes.
section of property that you're going to extend it to behind it, that is a wooded area between...
That's fine.
So they're never going to use it.
No, I know, but it saves issues down the road. You know, if she ever wanted to
She
put
wants
an
to put
addition on
she
the
wants to put
house,
anything in, if you have a lot that size, you're gonna have to come back here
For
for
a
a variance.
variance.
This way, it at least gives her the opportunity to not have to do that.
Right. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't make any difference. It's all ours, so...
Yeah.
If it takes 2, or if it took 3, it wouldn't make any difference.
okay, and that
Not
would
a
be
big deal.
part of the condition. You don't have a problem with that? Okay, and then the other condition was from Charlie as far as access, you know, to both commercial
So the depth
sites.
issue would go away. So not only would I don't mean to harp on the lot area, but not only would that eliminate the area relief that's necessary, but it also would eliminate the depth issue, because you're so close to the 200-foot depth as it is, you only need 6 additional feet. So that would eliminate that relief as well. So
Okay.
anytime we can proactively eliminate relief, I would support that. The balance of the relief that's necessary, aside from the use issue, are bulk variances that, like this front yard setback for the existing house that's going to be on the new lot. I mean, that's an existing condition. It's
Yeah.
30-something feet from the road.
How long has the house been there?
Since 1953.
Right.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
it
that predates the
predated-
zoning.
There's a lot of predated zone.
The only things, I guess, Sid, I would ask that you discuss is, you know, now that you're putting this, and I'm only bringing this up as just a point of information, so because you're creating this lot line between 1003 and 901, you're creating some variances with respect to coverage on both lots. But I don't necessarily know that if the lots stayed as one consolidated lot, that the situation would be any different. So if, I'm just asking for you to provide the board some testimony that, you know, the lot, so for what you're saying to me, sir, is that this additional, I understand the issue with the house, right? So the other lot line that you're proposing between the 2 yards is really a lot line on paper. The yard is going to still continue to function as is today, correct? So Sid, my question would be to you, if those lots stayed consolidated, would you be able to meet the 15% coverage requirement? Because it seems to me that the lot's pretty much covered as is.
Right, that's correct.
So even though they need relief for coverage on both lots, even if that lot line wasn't proposed, I think they still would require the same relief.
Right.
And I would take no exception. I do want to note for the record, I've been down this road countless times, and the property is kept immaculately. So, you know, aesthetically, I take no exception. The landscaping on the frontage and the wall definitely screens the yard from the residential road, even though I would tend to argue that Herbertsville Road is a pretty high-speed, heavily traveled roadway. It's not like a rural neighborhood road that it once was.
Right.
So I would take no exception to those 2 requests for relief as well. And then with respect to the use variance, the only reason that they're really here is because they're theoretically reducing the area on which the non-permitted use is located by carving out the 2 acres for the
Right.
residential lot. But as was testified to, and I understand that the variance goes with the land, so at some point you may sell it to somebody else, but as it stands today, the relief is really an exercise on paper. The site is going to continue to operate as is. The home is going to be occupied by a member of the family. They are going to try to comply with the lot area for the 2 acres, or they're going to give us the 2 acres on that one lot. So the reality is that yes, technically they need a D2 variance for an expansion of a non-conforming lot because you're reducing the area.
Right.
So really, Sid, what I would like you to testify and provide the board is that the testimony required for a D2 variance is far less than a D1 variance. So you really just have to testify that the site can accommodate the use, and the use has been there. I would submit, Matt, we don't get a lot of complaints on this property, right?
In my time, we haven't gotten any complaints from any neighbors. We do an annual junkyard inspection as well, and any minor issue we have gets resolved. We've had no major issues with the site that I'm aware of.
Jan, my other question would be, as far as subdividing, creating a 2-acre lot, they're also going to have relief of the buffer, correct?
Correct. So that's one thing that I was going to get to ultimately, is that technically, the ordinance requires between a non-residential and a residential property, there be a 50-foot buffer that's landscaped. Obviously, this site really cannot accommodate that. The lot is as wide as it physically can be, given the use of the property. I mean, there's a big concrete wall that runs the the depth of the lot, pretty much. So if you were to require a 50-foot buffer, it would either cut that residential lot in half, on which we go right through the house,
Right.
which obviously we
What
can't do, and the
they-
house is there and is going to be occupied by a family member. So I would support the relief request.
Okay.
You know,
But
I
they
would.
will need relief from that.
Correct.
That's not a waiver, that's a variance.
That's a variance, correct.
Correct.
So I guess, Sid, I would just ask that you put testimony on the record that the site can accommodate this change.
Surely, the site can accommodate the requested change, and the house itself is an existing house on the property. All we are doing is accommodating the request by the applicant to provide a house with an area of 2 acres for the daughter to live in. And it basically conforms to ARE2 area requirements for that particular lot.
Okay.
And if this variance is granted, I believe that it would not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zoning plan or the ordinance.
I don't take any exception. As I said, you know, this is if this was a proposed use, I think that we would be a little bit more concerned with the coverage and the traffic and all these other impacts, but this site has been here and operated like this for how long, you said?
62 and a half years.
So, you know, and without any complaints coming into Matt's office, as I said earlier, as you drive by on the road, they've taken great care to make sure that the frontage looks as residential as physically possible,
Right.
you know, with tremendous landscaping, and that it's kept very, very tidy and neat, and everything is behind this wall, so you know, you can look at it from an aerial, but from the road,
no.
you can't even see the yard. So I don't think that there's a negative impact associated with readjusting the lot lines, which is basically what we're doing here. So I would take no exception to the relief as requested.
Okay. I just have one complaint, and that's the steel prices. Why are y'all letting it go down so bad?
Think we like it?
I know, it's affecting you too, so. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I just have
Yes,
a quick
Charles.
question for Mr. Murphy, actually. So, the original plan we got didn't have any right-of-way dedication. The second revised plan does. I'm assuming that was in accordance with the county's recommendations for right-of-way dedication.
We're in correspondence with the county trying to resolve whether they would prefer an easement or an actual hard dedication.
Okay. My only issue is I would prefer a roadway easement because it doesn't impact any of the lot coverage or setbacks that you currently have on the plan here. With right-of-way, all your setbacks have to be measured from the right-of-way lines and everything like that. I don't know that the board can approve, you know, all the coverages without knowing it for a fact.
Exactly.
So, you know, I think that needs to be clarified before we've, you know, move further. If it goes ahead and they can get it as a roadway easement, no issue, but, you know, in the event that they can only get right-of-way dedication, they'd potentially have to come back before the board.
do you have an issue with that?
I don't have an issue with it. My concern is getting a commitment from the county as to which way we have to go and how long that will take.
No, I understand, but if we approve the application based on the easement, you know, if you had to go the hard case, you know, if they requested that, you would have to come back, you know, with further drawings.
Revised plans.
Right.
Mr. Murphy, would it help that conversation? because the township would be more supportive
I think for the county. I can convey that to the county and
We
see.
certainly can put that in any resolution, should the board act
Right.
favorably, that we would prefer it as an easement, given all the other constraints associated with the property in terms of the improvements.
Right here, it would start probably in this portion.
They had plans
here.
prepared many years ago, and that was part of what we had to kind of match up with, but they haven't made the improvements yet.
So I would just submit that I agree with Charlie. If the board is going to grant approval for the coverage issue on both of the lots exceeding the 15%, and then the setback of the existing house at 31 feet. Should you have to dedicate additional property, those numbers may change, and you may have to come back for an amendment to just amend the resolution at that point in time. But if they do take it as an easement, then what you see before you is what
it is.
will, just so that you're aware, nothing will change on the property at
We know
all.
that.
The improvements are all there. It's just the numbers in the resolution, basically.
Correct. You have issues with that?
Me?
Yeah.
Why should I?
Well, no, I'm just,
Well, you may have to come back.
you
That's the
might
only
have
reason.
to come back
No. It's
to,
just
if they do require a hard easement, a hard
not a
dedication.
problem. It's not a problem.
Okay. Any further, Charles?
And then, Mr. Chairman, looking at the GeoWeb, there are mat wetlands along the north side of the property. I don't know if the applicant has, evaluated that or had any professional look at that, or if they have a presence or lack thereof. You are going to be extending the residential lot in that area. I just think on a subdivision, you do want to know if that lot's to be sold, if it's encumbered or not.
Yes. As a matter of fact, one of the buildings that we were building, the Fort Bond, we had applied for present census determination, and we received an LOI, letter of interpretation, dated September 20th, 2010. It said absence of basically footprint of disturbance, that there were no wetlands present. And based on that application, we received a permit to build a pole barn on the site.
What was the date of that?
I'll give you that.
LOIs
You
are
might,
only,
do you have a copy of that you could give?
LOIs are only good for 5 years.
5 years, right.
But, and then also, I would say, Sid, too, a footprint of disturbance LOI is really in the area of where the
Where you're putting the
pole
building.
barn is going,
Yes.
which is, I would just submit maybe as a condition of approval that you get a presence absence determination on the proposed residential lot.
I agree.
Because you just want to make sure that you know where the constraints are. Like you said, you're not anticipating clearing any of that property, which is fine. But if in the event that you do sell the property at some point and somebody wants to clear, you want to know where that line is. And that can be done as a condition of approval if
Yes.
the board so chooses.
Can I request that it should be footprint of disturbance, because at the back of the property, we're not touching, so.
Well, I would submit that Mr. Murphy's going to obviously revise the subdivision plan, correct? And then I would request primarily on the new residential lot,
Vicinity of the back
a
lot.
presence absence, just because like I said, the footprint of disturbance is up near the road, and, I understand that a family member is going to occupy that structure, but in the event that that lot sells and someone wants to clear, then that footprint of disturbance is not really doing us any good. A presence absence would be a better solution.
All right, no problem.
Okay. Any further? Any questions from the board? Seeing none? Okay. Can I have a motion to open to the public?
Make a motion to open the public?
Motion by Mr. Saya. Seconded by Mr. Hughes. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Anyone in the audience wish to come forward and make a comment or ask a question? You good? You good? I had to ask. But, okay, can I have a motion to close?
Make a motion to close the public?
Motion by Mr. Saya. Seconded by Mr. Moretti. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Professionals? Any further? Board members, any questions or? Would you like to make a closing statement?
Just like to rely on the testimony of Mr. Blewett, Mr. Murphy, and Mr. Hussein, and thank the board for their consideration.
Well, before I call for a vote, first of all, I want to thank you for May 20th. I know we put you off a couple of times. We had another case going on during that time that, hey, I really appreciate you bearing with us on this, so, thank you. But what's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this application based on all the conditions and agreements that we agreed upon. And My vote is to approve it.
I'd like to second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Got a motion by Mr. O'Donnell, seconded by Mr. Saya. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Mertens?
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Saya?
Yes.
Mr. Moretti?
Yes.
Mr. Cantor?
Yes.
And Chairman Nansen.
Yes. Based on all testimony provided and, everything that was agreed upon during the testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Is there any further business of the board? Seeing
Just
none?
a
Yes.
note for all the board members, our next scheduled meeting should be July 8th. There is nothing scheduled, so you can have the night off. Our next meeting will now be July 22nd.
Oh, good.
Wow, we got a month off.
Next meeting.
I'm going to be off on the 22nd. I'll be in Maine.
I'm going fishing.
I might
Okay.
forget to come back in August.
Thank you.
You guys have to call and
Okay,
remind me.
can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion
Second.
by Mr. Moretti, seconded by Mr. Saya. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Seeing none. Zoning Board adjourned at 9 p.m.